I'm standing in my backyard for what I think is the last time. It's December 14th, 2022. The grass is brown and patchy. The fence I built 30 years ago leans like it's tired of standing. And tomorrow morning, a bulldozer will arrive to tear it all down the house. The garden, everything to make room for a parking lot. I'm 71 years old, widowed, bankrupt, and about to lose the only place my daughter ever called home. But then, a black SUV pulls into my driveway. 3 people get out, and one of them says something that makes me forget how to breathe. Mr. Chen, do you remember the summer of 1998? Do you remember teaching a little girl how to plant tomatoes? Have you ever taught someone something small, something you forgot about the next day, and wondered if it mattered at all? Share your story in the comments below. It's 6:47 in the morning. The sun's barely up, but I've been awake since 4. Old men don't sleep well. We lie in bed and count our regrets instead. I'm in the kitchen of my house in Riverside, California. A small ranch-style home built in 1962, back when this neighborhood was brand new and full of young families who believed in the American dream. Now it's as full of renters and empty lots and for sale signs that never come down because nobody wants to buy here anymore. The kitchen smells like instant coffee and old wood. The countertops are yellow formica, cracked in 3 places. The cabinets are original dark wood, brass handles that don't match because I replaced them over the years whenever one broke. There's a window above the sink that looks out into the backyard. That's where I spend most of my time now. Looking out that window, remembering. My wife, Susan, died 4 years ago. 2018. Stroke. 1 minute she was laughing at something on the television. The next minute she was gone. Just like that. 46 years of marriage erased in the time it takes to draw a breath. We never had much money. I worked as a machinist at the aerospace plant for 38 years. She was a school librarian. We raised our daughter, Michelle, in this house. Paid off the mortgage in 2003. Thought we'd die here, peacefully, surrounded by memories. But medical bills don't care about your plans. Susan's hospital stay, the surgery that didn't work, the funeral. Then my own health started failing. Diabetes, blood pressure, 2 surgeries, more bills. I took out a reverse mortgage in 2019, thinking it would help. It didn't. By 2021, I'd missed so many payments the bank started foreclosure proceedings. I tried everything, loans, grants, even asked my daughter for help, but Michelle has her own family, her own bills. She's struggling too. Works 2 jobs just to keep her kids fed. The foreclosure notice came in July. I had 6 months. I spent those 6 months trying to find somewhere else to go, some assisted living facility I could afford. There wasn't one, so here we are. December 14th, 2022. Tomorrow, they take the house. A developer bought it. Plans to tear it down and put up a parking structure for the new apartment complex going in next door. Everything becomes a parking lot eventually. I pour my coffee into the same mug I've used for 20 years. White ceramic with a faded blue stripe. Susan gave it to me for Father's Day in 2002. World's best dad, it used to say, but the letters have worn off from so many washings. Now it just says war, _____ saint ____ ad. Appropriate, maybe. I wasn't always the best father. Too much work, too little time, too many missed recitals and soccer games. Michelle forgave me, I think, but I never quite forgave myself. I walk to the back door, unlock it, step outside into the cold December morning. California cold, which means 50 degrees and people in parkas pretending it's winter. The yard is small, maybe 40 feet by 30 feet, surrounded by a wooden fence I built in 1992 when Michelle was 7 and wanted a dog. We got a golden retriever named Bailey. He died in 2009. We buried him in the back corner, under the lemon tree. The lemon tree is still there, older now, branches twisted and gnarled. Still produces lemons every year, bright yellow against dark green leaves. I wonder if the bulldozer will spare it. Probably not. The rest of the yard is mostly dirt now. There used to be grass, a lawn Michelle played on, where Susan and I had barbecues with neighbors who've all moved away or died. But maintaining a lawn costs money. I don't have. So I let it go. Brown patches turned into bare earth. The sprinkler system broke 3 years ago. I never fixed it. But there's one spot. One small corner of the yard near the back fence. 6 raised garden beds, each one 4 feet by 8 feet, built from redwood planks, filled with soil I've been tending for 30 years. That's my garden, or what's left of it. I walk over slowly. My knees hurt, arthritis. Everything hurts when you're 71. The garden beds are mostly empty now. December isn't growing season. But there are a few things still alive. Winter lettuce in one bed, kale in another. Some carrots that haven't been harvested yet because I keep forgetting they're there. Or maybe I don't want to harvest them. Maybe as long as something's still growing, I'm still useful. I kneel down carefully, painfully next to the nearest bed, run my fingers through the soil. Dark, rich, full of compost and earthworms and 30 years of love. This garden saved my life once. Not literally, but close enough. After Michelle moved out in 2003, the house felt empty, too quiet. Susan suggested I take up gardening. Something to do with my hands, something to give me purpose now that the factory had laid me off, and I was retired at 62 with a pension that barely covered groceries. I didn't know anything about gardening. My parents were city people. We lived in Los Angeles in an apartment with no yard. But Susan bought me a book, Square Foot Gardening. I read it cover to cover. That became my routine, my purpose. Wake up early, coffee, garden, harvest, share. People in the neighborhood started calling me the tomato guy. Kids would knock on my door asking if I had any cucumbers. Families I barely knew would stop by for lettuce. It felt good, felt like I was contributing something, like I mattered. I'm pulling a weed from the kale bed when I hear a car pull into the driveway. That's strange. It's not even 7 in the morning. I'm not expecting anyone. The moving truck isn't coming until tomorrow. I stand up slowly, my knees popping like fireworks, and walk around the side of the house. There's a black SUV in my driveway. Expensive looking. Tesla, maybe. The doors open. 3 people get out. The first is a woman, maybe late 30s, Asian, wearing a gray business suit and carrying a leather briefcase. She has the look of someone important, someone who doesn't have time to waste. The second is a man, younger, maybe early 30s, white guy with dark hair and glasses, dressed more casually in jeans and a button-down shirt. He's holding a folder. The third is another woman, older, maybe 60, Latina, gray hair pulled back in a bun, wearing a colorful cardigan over a simple dress. She's carrying a small box wrapped in paper. They see me standing there in my dirt-stained pants and old flannel shirt, and the younger woman smiles. Mr. Chen? David Chen? That's me, I say cautiously. Can I help you? I hope so, she says, walking toward me with her hand extended. My name is Dr. Sarah Martinez. This is my colleague, James Keller, and this is my mother, Rosa Martinez. I shake her hand, confused. Did the bank send you? Because I already know about the foreclosure. You don't need to. We're not from the bank, she interrupts gently. We're here because of something you did a long time ago. Something I don't think you even remember. I blink. I don't understand. The older woman, Rosa, steps forward. She's smiling now, tears in her eyes. Mr. Chen, do you remember the summer of 1998? Do you remember a little girl named Sarah, who lived 3 houses down? Do you remember teaching her how to grow tomatoes? The world tilts. Sarah. Oh my God. Let me tell you about the summer of 1998. Let me tell you about a little girl who changed everything, even though I didn't know it at the time. It was late June. Michelle had just graduated high school. She was leaving for college in August U.C. Davis, full scholarship, first person in our family to go to a 4-year university. Susan and I were so proud we could barely speak about it without crying. The garden was in full bloom. Tomatoes everywhere. Big heirloom varieties, Cherokee purple, Brandywine, black Krim. I'd gotten obsessed with heirloom tomatoes that year. Spent way too much money on seeds, but they were beautiful. And they tasted like summer itself. I was out in the garden one Saturday morning, around 8 o'clock, tying up tomato vines to stakes. They were getting heavy with fruit, needed support. I heard a voice behind me. "Mister, what are you doing?" I turned around. There was a little girl standing at my back fence, maybe 8 or 9 years old, dark hair in braids, brown skin, big curious eyes. She was wearing a Tweety Bird t-shirt and had dirt on her knees. "I'm gardening," I said. "These are tomato plants." "Why?" Kids ask the best questions. "Because I like to grow my own food. And because it's peaceful out here." She watched me for a minute. "Can I help?" I should mention that I'm not naturally good with children. I love them. I loved Michelle more than life itself, but I never knew how to talk to them. Always felt awkward. But something about this little girl's earnestness got to me. "Sure," I said. "You can help me tie these up. What's your name?" "Sarah." "I'm David. You live around here?" She pointed. 3 houses that way. We just moved in. Welcome to the neighborhood." She climbed over the fence. Kids have no sense of property boundaries and came into my garden. I showed her how to tie the twine around the tomato stems gently so you don't hurt the plant. She was careful, precise, took her time. "Why do they need to be tied up?" she asked. "Because tomatoes get heavy," I explained. "If we don't support them, the branches will break. Then no more tomatoes. That would be sad, very sad." We worked together for maybe 20 minutes. She asked 100 questions. Why is the soil dark? Why do some leaves have holes? Why are the tomatoes green? I answered every single one, patiently, more patiently than I'd been with anything in years. When we finished, I gave her a tour of the whole garden, showed her the peppers, the zucchini, the beans climbing up their trellis. She was fascinated by everything, wanted to touch every plant, smell every flower. "Can I come back tomorrow?" she asked when her mother called her name from down the street. "Sure," I said, "anytime." And she did. She came back the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Every morning that summer, around 8 o'clock, Sarah would show up at my back fence and ask if she could help in the garden. I learned her story gradually. Her family had moved to Riverside from Texas. Her father had gotten a job at the university. Her mother, Rosa, was a seamstress, worked from home. Sarah was their only child. Shy, didn't make friends easily. Spent most of her time reading or wandering the neighborhood alone. "I don't have friends," she told me one day while we were pulling weeds. "Why not?" she shrugged. "Kids at school think I'm weird. What do they say? That I'm too quiet, that I read too much, that I talk funny." She had a slight lisp. I'd noticed it, but never mentioned it. "There's nothing wrong with being quiet," I said, "or reading, and you don't talk funny. You talk just fine." "Really?" "Really." She was quiet for a long time after that. Then, "You're nice, Mr. Chen. You're nice too, Sarah." I taught her everything I knew about gardening, how to plant seeds, how to water not too much, not too little, how to identify pests and deal with them without chemicals, how to know when something's ready to harvest, how to save seeds for next year. She absorbed it all like a sponge. asked questions I didn't know the answers to, made me go to the library and check out books so I could teach her properly. We became a team. Every morning, 2 hours in the garden. Her small hands and my old ones working the soil together. Susan loved it. "You're good for that little girl," she'd say. "And she's good for you." "How am I good for her?" "You listen to her. You take her seriously." Kids need that. One day in late July, Sarah showed up with a notebook. "I'm going to keep a garden journal," she announced. "So I remember everything you teach me." "That's a great idea." She sat on the edge of one of the raised beds and started writing, drew pictures of the plants, made notes about what we did each day. I watched her, this serious little girl with dirt under her fingernails and determination in her eyes, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not for me. For her. For the future. The summer ended. Sarah went back to school. She still came by sometimes, on weekends, but less frequently. By October, she stopped coming altogether. I figured she'd made friends, moved on, forgotten about the garden. I never saw her again after that. Her family moved away the following year. I heard from a neighbor that her father got a better job somewhere else. Oregon, maybe, or Washington. I didn't remember. But I thought about her sometimes. Wondered if she still gardened. Wondered if anything I taught her had stuck. Now she's standing in my driveway, a grown woman, a doctor, and she's crying. "I never forgot," Sarah says. "We're sitting in my living room. The furniture is old, the same couch Susan and I bought in 1987. The same coffee table Michelle used to do her homework on. Everything's worn but clean. I've kept it clean. It's all I have left of them." Rosa, Sarah's mother, is sitting next to her daughter. James, the younger man, is perched awkwardly on the armrest. He still hasn't explained who he is. "I never forgot a single thing you taught me," Sarah continues. Her voice is shaking. "That summer. The garden. You were the first adult outside my family who ever treated me like I mattered, like my questions weren't annoying, like I was worth your time." "Of course you are worth my time," I say, bewildered. "You don't understand." She pulls out a worn notebook from her bag. I recognize it immediately. The garden journal. I still have this. I've kept it for 24 years. Every time I doubted myself, every time I thought I wasn't smart enough or good enough, I'd read this. I'd remember the garden. I'd remember you saying, "There's nothing wrong with being quiet. You talk just fine." I said that? You did, and it changed my life. Rosa speaks up now. "Mr. Chen, after we moved to Oregon, Sarah never stopped gardening. We had a bigger yard there. She planted her own garden, used everything you taught her, grew vegetables all through middle school and high school. It became her refuge, her safe place. I applied to college to study agriculture," Sarah says. "But my counselor said I should aim higher, so I did. I got into Stanford, pre-med, graduated top of my class. Johns Hopkins for medical school, did my residency at Mass General. Now I'm a pediatric surgeon at Children's Hospital Los Angeles. I'm speechless, completely speechless. But I never stopped gardening," she continues. "I have a house in Pasadena with a huge backyard. 6 raised beds. Built them myself using your design. I grow heirloom tomatoes every summer. Cherokee purple, Brandywine, black Krim, the same varieties you grew." "Sarah," I whisper. 2 years ago," she continues, "I started a program at the hospital, a rooftop garden where pediatric patients can learn to grow vegetables. We've had over 300 kids go through it. Kids with cancer, kids with chronic illnesses, kids who needed something beautiful and alive to focus on while they healed. We call it the Chun Garden. They stay for 3 hours. We talk about everything. Sarah tells me about her husband, a civil engineer, and their 2 daughters, ages 6 and 4. She shows me pictures on her phone. The girls are in a garden, wearing Tweety Bird t-shirts, just like Sarah did. We're teaching them to grow tomatoes, she says with a smile. James explains the legal details. Everything's been handled. The house is mine. The money is mine. All I have to do is sign a few documents. I sign them with shaking hands. Before they leave, Sarah asks, "Can I see the garden?" "It's not much anymore," I warn her. "I'm old. I can't maintain it like I used to. I don't care. I want to see it." We walk out back. The three of them stand at the edge of the raised beds. Sarah kneels down, touches the soil with both hands, closes her eyes. "This is holy ground," she whispers. Rosa is crying. James looks uncomfortable but moved. I just watch this woman, this brilliant, successful, kind woman connect with dirt and plants and memories. "I'm going to send a crew," Sarah says, standing up. "We're going to restore this garden. New soil, new plants, new irrigation, anything you want. And I'm going to come by once a month to help you tend it. If that's okay, that's more than okay." "Good." She hugs me, long and tight. "Thank you, Mr. Chen. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for remembering me." It's been 6 months since that December morning. The garden is beautiful again. Sarah sent a crew of landscapers who rebuilt everything. New soil, new drip irrigation, new plants. She comes by once a month, just like she promised. Sometimes she brings her daughters. We work the garden together. I teach them the same things I taught their mother. The house is fully paid off. I've used some of the money to fix things: new kitchen counters, a new roof, a new fence. But mostly I just live simply and give away vegetables to neighbors again. The tomato guy is back. Michelle cried when I told her what happened. Couldn't believe it. "Dad, that's a miracle." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe that's just what happens when you treat people with kindness." The Chen garden at Children's Hospital is thriving. Sarah invites me to visit sometimes. I watch children with 4 poles and bald heads from chemotherapy plant seeds and water tomatoes. I watch their faces light up when they harvest their first cucumber. I watch them feel proud of something they grew with their own hands. And I understand now. What I gave Sarah wasn't just knowledge about gardening. It was dignity. It was attention. It was the message that she mattered. That's what we all need. That's what saves us. Every morning, I wake up at 4:00 a.m., make coffee in my war, ___saint__add mug. Watch the sun come up over the garden that refuses to die. And I talk to Susan like she's still here. "We made it, honey," I say. "The garden's okay. I'm okay. And that little girl we helped? She's changing the world. I think Susan would be proud. So let me ask you something. What small kindness have you shown someone that you've forgotten about? What moment in your life might have changed someone else's life without you ever knowing it? And what would you do if someone showed up 30 years later to tell you that you mattered? That something small you did changed everything? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story reminded you that kindness never disappears, it just waits for the right moment to come back, hit that subscribe button. Because the world needs more stories like this. Stories that prove that how we treat people, especially when nobody's watching, matters. It matters now. It matters forever. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for believing that small acts of love can grow into something beautiful.